Here we are in the town of Milford, Massachusetts, and you want to introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself now?
My name is Karim El-Gamal, and I'm one of the owners of Rail Trail Flatbread Co, New City Microcreamery, and our secret speakeasy, LessThanGreaterThan.
Your voice suddenly becomes much softer when you're on camera. Has anybody told you that?
No, I never knew that, really. But I'll speak louder, sure.
Karim!
Yeah.
One of the founders of the original Rail Trail, and now there's 3 partners, right? There's Michael, and Jason, and you, and there's a holding company. That's the current business, right?
No, actually, got some updates. So we are, in addition to the 3 of us, we have added 7 more partners, all through our open book management program, where people basically learn the business, the back end, the front end, and employees and managers who have stuck with us for so long and showed us a lot of loyalty, a lot of commitment, a lot of knowledge, a lot of heart during the pandemic and other times have really earned their spot.
There he is
with us.
This is. Now I wish we were live, so there's no way you guys could edit that out, because this is Michael Kasseris. This is a great selfie moment. There you go. Congratulations. The place looks fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Since you showed me around last summer. And I didn't know the big news that there's 7 more partners, 10 more.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
The vision is coming to fruition.
Was that part of the vision to have
Oh
so
yeah.
many partners?
The family is growing.
The path to partnership has always been part of our ethos.
So, this has already been worth the trip over here. I haven't even tried the food, but I've heard it's good. I know the food in the other location's awesome. But it's already worth the trip, because as an update to the book and everything online, I think we might have mentioned open book management in the book chapter. But I didn't see it coming, that you would find people so invested and so good that you decided to make them co-owners with equal voting. How's the voting rights work? Do you have a partnership agreement?
The voting, there's 2 levels of voting, and I would just say everyone gets to participate in decision making. There is kind of a level of principal investors or owners, general owners.
Generally speaking, we do things in a unanimous way. So it's a way better management decision when everyone's bought in. Otherwise, there's no real. We're not sitting there calling things to corporate action, corporate vote, for no reason. What's the point if half of our family is not in alignment? So let's get in alignment first and do the thing everybody wants to do.
This is so interesting. So you guys always try to build consensus decisions.
Absolutely.
Wow. Oh, you got to go. All right, Michael, any other big, massive learning?
Well, you're going to teach me your founding youth, because you just keep getting younger.
He said that too. I don't know if it's true, but okay, so last question. I asked Karim this. Did you expect to have, back in the time when you were starting this whole adventure, did you think you'd have multiple locations and you would have ice cream in Whole Foods? Was there even an inkling, maybe, of scaling?
I think there was always, I have children now, and thank you. And when you first think about being a parent, you're like, I want my child to be healthy and successful, and from there, sky's the limit. So you dream of your children being successful and healthy and growing and being valuable parts of society, and you have all these different visions of how they could their life could branch off into all these possibilities. And so our goals were big, and we had the biggest visions for our little child here, our business, but how it unfolds has always been a beautiful part of our process, just to see it growing and taking all these organic changes. So I think we had big goals and big aspirations, but to say we knew exactly how everything would unfold, no, we didn't.
So you both have 2 kids now.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. And to return the compliment, you guys keep looking good too.
Thank you.
All right, so, and what else did you want to share about big lessons learned? We tried to pregame this a little bit. What else was on the list?
Yeah, let's go through lessons learned. Okay. Since the book came out, some of the things we learned are, first some of the things we learned were the lending market and financing growth used to be a very stable, predictable thing. You shopped around kind of expecting not much change. And with that, I was always taught kind of to go for cheapest, lowest available loans, okay, from a trusted institution. And so in all my financial forecasting was done with those kind of rates, not expecting them to change much. So the best loans came in flex rates. But now after COVID and some of the inflation stuff we've been going through, the rates really jumped up and in some cases doubled what my forecasts were. And when that doubles, your payment can really spike up and completely change the way you forecasted your cash flow. So, you know, if I could go back, if I could have learned a lesson before, I would have absolutely fought much harder for a fixed rate. Not that rates went up, I might have paid more for a rate that was fixed, but to have more predictability in my, you know, forecasting.
So there's maybe two lessons learned there. One is that it's maybe worth fight as hard as you can to lock in a rate that when you have the option of something variable versus fixed when it comes to a loan. But is this also part of a more generalizable theme that you can never imagine all the bad surprises that are going to happen? You have to build in spare sort of cushions in everything, spare capacity. Is that generalizable? That whatever you think is the worst case scenario, it could be a little bit worse.
I think a lot of people know that it would be nice to have those cushions, safeties in there, and
Redundancies.
you know, redundancies. Not every small business or startup can afford those. You can build them in, but once you can, you should. And you know, in our first business, we had reached that level. It's 11 years old now. We had reached a level where I did build in buffers, and we've completely depleted it while building this location because things went over budget and you know, timeline was extended. So we had to. Luckily, they were there. Yeah, you have to build them in, and it is currently in the model of each of our businesses to, as we build up our business again, to have those be priorities before some other things can get done or invested.
What about, we pre-gamed the idea of talking about scaling up versus starting up?
Scaling up versus starting up. All right, look, which is tougher? I'll get to that in a minute. Starting up is a lot of question marks. It's a lot of unknowns. Test marketing, you've got a lot of belief in yourself and to get things going. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. And so you're scaling out. You're starting out. You don't know, and there's competition, and there's issues with partnerships, with funding, with all kinds of unknowns. I think that's really difficult to get to a level of profitability with a startup. Once you're there, scaling is part of the plan. It can be very difficult. How do you duplicate when there's only one of your partners, or you know how all the ins and outs of this one specific location? Can you replicate it? Does every market meet you the same way? In my experience, scaling took a lot longer and was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But I think ultimately starting up is probably still the harder thing, in my opinion.
Do you feel like you're taking a breather at all, or you're able to catch your breath? It seemed like you guys it was almost an all-out sprint at times, way back when you were starting the first location. In this last 11 years, have you caught your breath, or are there still these spurts of feeling like you're in a sprint? Or is it now a regular marathon pace?
No. I guess it's a marathon.
Okay. So you keep it slow and steady.
I would say though the last 5 or 6 months of building the Milford location, that felt like a sprint again. You know, it was getting to a point where we were really reaching kind of the bottom of the barrel. We still had to open, and even 6 months ago we thought we could open in 2 months, but it took 6 months. So it's been a sprint, all hands on deck, rolling up our sleeves, doing whatever we can everywhere, all at once to get this going.
So it's like the early days where there was no hierarchy. If you had to fill in the kitchen or cleaning up, was it really back to those days?
The construction was like that. Yeah. The operations were not like that. So when we first opened our doors, we did a soft opening. We had a team, referring back to kind of ways to build up and prepare for the unexpected. We had already hired like a bench of managers and employees and supervisors that we knew we were hiring them to work at our Hudson location with the intent of going to the Milford location, so that they're not learning on the job. They already know our culture, they already know the processes, the menu, the ins and outs, they know the standard that we expect. So with the delays, it gave us more time to spend with them. It cost us more than we forecasted to, because again, that's an investment, right? It takes money to do those things. But when we did open, we were able to almost immediately have many people in many positions already with that ownership thinking, with the standard already ingrained, and we all could just fix things all at once in different areas instead of just relying on one or two people's visions.
So that was actually, so you eliminated some of the hiccups and the heartache and the headaches of the initial location opening, because one of the limiting factors was awesome people that were fully on board with the same culture. You had a chance to actually develop a big bench, a deep bench of talent.
We did.
And it wasn't your first rodeo, so you could you foresee all the hiccups, or?
No, absolutely not. There's always unique hiccups. There's different setups. It's not the same place, so you got to learn new kind of, the rhythm and the kind of the process and the little physical way you walk through things and hand things off and talk to other people.
The rhythm, including of a typical day of sales.
Yeah, kitchen and bar and where the storages are, the backups are, all that stuff. It's just different. And I'll say where it pays off, not only is there a peace of mind knowing that things are getting to where you want right away, the other end of it is the return on that investment is that your guests, your visitors, your customers, clients, they are experiencing something, a restaurant in our case, that seems to have been around for a month or 6 months or a year in terms, so their first impression is way higher. They're much more likely to return. They're much more likely to spread good news about you. They're much more likely to have confidence to book bigger parties and events with you compared to a restaurant that's opening where everyone's new and you can kind of feel that, and you're just they're kind of like accepting and tolerating kind of mistakes and excuses and all that. And we still had some, but nowhere near the scale of our first one.
So you have time and willingness for 2 more questions.
Okay.
2 more ideas. Before we stop, one of the things that I remember you sharing about good restaurant design, when you walk in the front door. Jason, how you doing?
What's up, man?
It's good to see you again.
Hi.
And we are recording.
Yes,
I have your
I can
consent.
see that.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things in the first book, there were 2 more topics I wanted to cover. First of all, how you been?
Good. How are you?
Good. That when you walk into a restaurant, you should see fire and beverages. There. That was my attempt to plug you guys on my YouTube channel.
So there's also this is the front entrance, but really the back entrance goes out to where we have 60 parking spaces.
Right.
So as you come down that hall, what we have is one of the nicest service bars you've ever seen, right behind the host stand.
Right.
So if we walk over here, you can kind of see that. I don't know if you want to do that, but
We can walk, right?
basically, that service bar is right behind your host when you walk
Right.
in,
Right. Right.
And so, you've got kind of fresh drinks, and you could see we blocked this
Uh-huh.
so that nobody can stand here.
Uh-huh.
So that way, all the drinks that are getting made are right behind the host stand. So you're already kind of, ooh, I'm ready to drink something,
Right.
And then obviously right there you have the big open kitchen off in the
Right.
background.
I guess you guys don't mind being on a YouTube channel? Really? Okay, we were gonna blur you out.
So that's all very engineered to kind of wet your whistle mentally before you wet your whistle.
Thanks
physically.
for showing that. I did notice the host
The
table.
psychology of this
Yeah,
stuff.
no,
so
it's
I figured I would
fascinating. It's absolutely
bring that up.
fascinating. And so you held true to that standard. And the other topic, besides giving you a plug and walking around with the camera to show people what it's like to walk in, there's Karim is still with us. He's still
Yes.
putting up with me.
Yes.
The other question was, since the publication of the book, hopefully the first book out of a series, there's some legal lessons learned that I always try to point out to my students as we're reading. Any new lessons learned related to law, either contracts, how to negotiate. All students want to know more about how to negotiate smartly.
Maybe we can go somewhere else.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. That's a sign that we're actually going to get the real authentic scoop.
So when we first met you, we were small,
Okay.
relatively to where we are now. We're probably 5 to 6 times the size that we were when we first met you, Adam.
Okay, 5 to 6.
So, you know, it's
that includes the ice cream and the Whole Foods.
So one thing we've learned is, and our culture means everything, and we treat people as well as we can, and we make sure we're paying people properly and trying to do everything, you know, as above board and honest as you possibly can do it, even beyond probably what we need to do.
Right.
At a certain size, no matter what you do, you're gonna sometimes run into people that want to blame you for whatever's going on in their life, and they may look to use legal means to do so.
Right.
It's important to have a really good insurance representative that gets you specific insurance to protect you, and have that as a like, if I need to, I can speed dial because I got a letter. Not to say that it happens all the time,
Yeah.
but it's become at the level we're at now, where we have 350 employees.
Wow.
It's a cost of doing business.
Yeah.
That every so often you're going to get some sort of letter in the mail from
Yeah.
something related to that. So
So
that's
you think it's
definitely been a learning experience for us.
You think it's inevitable, guys, that the bigger you get as a business, the more people think you have resources to spare, the more the lawyers think, oh, you have deep pockets, you're worth suing.
I don't.
Are there like more lawsuits per employee or per client than there were in the start?
Not per,
No, okay.
but I don't think it per.
I thought it might scale faster than
Maybe if you hit 10,000 and you're seen as a big national brand, that's a different story.
Then you
right?
start being a bigger-
McDonald's.
Okay.
You're putting the cockroach in the milkshake.
Got it. So,
But
yeah.
in our world, I don't think that it's that. I think it's just a numbers game, where if you have 50 employees, right, the chances of something happening like that are lower than if you have 350 employees.
Okay, fair
Right?
enough.
So
Fair
there's
enough.
just a volume thing, right?
Yeah.
And you have to do a lot of things culturally to try to prevent that, like have good filtering in your hiring process, and you know, have good systems where you're kind of explaining why somebody's getting written up, and do corrective conversations and memos of conversation. The more buttoned up you are, the less likely it will happen per person. But then there's so many people, and you know, people want to come up with their own reasons why something happened,
Right.
that don't really reflect the actual reasons that something happened.
Got
So
it,
then
got it.
you know, you have to it's not like an if, but it's more of a matter of when at a certain level. Yeah. So that's been a major learning experience for us over the last, you know, even though there's only been a couple of cases of it, but each one feels
Right. Momentous.
has a big magnitude to it, right? Yeah. So
All right, so the other things that come up, that's already awesome, because I think we forget maybe to emphasize that sometimes, that insurance is needed. And what you said about HR, document everything, screen heavily, have
digital solutions are great. I mean, we're in the,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure your students more than anyone know that digital is better than paper. So, you know, because files get lost and things can happen, but if you have a digital HR solution and you use the write-ups, and not just the write-ups, but also, you know, like review process and just memos of good conversations you can have, because it kind of creates this paper trail around the person that is good, and also, if something were to happen, has this really strong digital record, because they're closed systems. So once something is put in, if you undo it, there's a record of it being undone, and you can see what it was before it was gone.
Right.
So it's not just like a piece of paper that can be, right? So it means more in a discovery process than just a piece of paper, because it's time stamped.
I got a totally different question, but I remember the whole sequence of, and I just found out from Karim and Michael, that you guys are up to 10 partners now.
Yes.
You were the third of 10. So I'm trying to imagine it's almost like a family. Michael even said we're trying to grow the family. We always wanted a family, a big family. I'm tempted to ask this question. Does it almost feel like you're the third child in a family of 10 kids? And what's that like, as each new brother and sister come on board? Is that a dumb question? Karim is laughing.
Your questions are just funny.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it just feels like it feels more like a team that is a championship, like a perennial champion contender
Okay.
that has like a roster full of stars, and you know, more and more people are in the starting lineup.
Okay.
And you know, we have a bench behind them that is
There
wanting.
comes that
But
topic
instead
of the
of like a
bench again,
typical sport where
Yeah.
you know, in the NBA there's 5 starting spots, and right, and
Yeah.
in football there's 11 on each side of the ball.
Yeah.
It's like there's unlimited starting spots depending on how big and how ambitious we want to be. So you just have people that want to become starting players that are trying to join us. And,
So that's what I was trying to
right,
wonder about. Is there a little bit of rivalry or no? No rivalry.
amongst two.
Well, I'm trying to imagine, like, you use the analogy of a sports team.
Well, we're playing against everybody else.
Okay.
I know,
You
right?
guys
We're
feel
all
like a
one
team,
team, yeah.
and the other teams are out there.
Yeah, like no,
Okay.
I think it's us against. I don't think it's. So I don't want to say this the wrong way, because we're very community based, and we're
Yeah.
like the biggest cheerleaders of every business and stakeholder in our community, right? We want to see like restaurants come in, and people are typically like, you know, so what are you thinking about them? How's that going to be? We want them to succeed,
Right.
But it's us against everybody who maybe doesn't want to see us succeed.
Okay.
But it's also to win them over in the long run.
Oh, wow.
So there's this like really strong people that have a deep, strong inclination
Yeah.
to work in a team-oriented place and work hard and be accountable and really try to do your best every single day and grow all the time are the ones that are making partners, right? And joining that like maybe senior echelon within the company. And so that's more what it is. There's very little internal like that, because everybody has different roles to play and there's just so much to do.
I need to get back to teaching at 3. Can we do a
Yeah.
quick time check? Because this is great content.
2:45. I mean, you gotta go.
Oh,
I mean, 2:15.
yeah, I gotta actually leave.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta eat my Greek bowl. I'm gonna try the Greek bowl and then I'm gonna go.
All right.
Any final words?
No, good luck with your book. Good luck with
Yeah.
your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And hope to have
Yeah,
you here again.
You
okay?
guys helped make it.
All right,
So,
thank you.
I hope it's worth it. I hope it paid off. I hope people, actually come after clicking. So, all right, signing off, right, with Jason and Karim at the Rail Trail
Thank you. All right.
in Milford.
Yes.
Milford. Not to be confused with any other towns that start with Mill. Cheers.